So a good majority of what I actually spend most of my time doing is, you could probably distill it down to an idea of research. Now, one of the things I wanted to try to do is, as we expand into what Arcane Bear, I think, really tries to focus on creating for itself, the idea of venture capital and that deep level of research that's provided us such high levels of return over the last few years is what I want to stay focused on. So I've been interested in Solana. Now, I like Solana. We've been fans of it for a while. You can go check out our links down below where we did a What the F is Solana series. We did that in June. Now, I'm often listening to and trying to understand people that are significantly smarter than I am, and then from there come up to a conclusion where I can feel capable of understanding what it is I just learned. So Solana went down. So I'm gonna read this. This is actually from Twitter. So note right now, we don't normally do stuff like this. We're like, hey, we're gonna read to you something that we found on the internet, but I wanted to include it in the way that I share the research, because this part we don't normally share. You don't do too much conjecture around the news, the day-to-day commentary. People seem to like that, and I think that there's a way I can mingle it in so that it's super valuable for our research as well. So Solana mainnet beta encountered a large increase in transaction. Well, that's great news. So far, this sounds great. Which peaked at around 400,000 transactions per second. Well, that is also pretty great based off what I know around current blockchain standards for transactions per second, right? Okay, so because these transactions flooded the transaction processing queue, a lack of prioritization of network critical messaging caused the network to start forking. Okay, well, that doesn't sound as good as the first three things, but if this abstraction, which is always difficult to find in the technology layer, like as you scale, you can theorize things that are possible, but as they actually tangibly take place, you may run into different errors. And we've seen this before. Now, where does this take us? Okay, so this is part 2 of this tweet that I'm reading right now. I'm sharing my dialogue around research. This forking led to excessive memory consumption, causing some nodes to go offline. Engineers across the ecosystem attempted to stabilize the network, but were then unsuccessful. Okay, this is fair. We're learning how to build things. Like, remember that these are mathematic, keystones of how to build cryptography conversations, way beyond my pay grade in terms of actually building it. So let's continue to be humble here and read and learn. So the validator community then elected to coordinate a restart. Oh, yep. Ding dong. We'll start over there. The community is preparing a new release, and instructions will be posted on Discord. That's good. Good way to do it with the community. Okay. Well, so there's some things to take away from there. I listened to a podcast with Anatoly the other evening. Great thinker. You know, we've our interest in these kind of base layer 1 conversations, like why Avalanche is such a potentially vibrant ecosystem conversation, as in comparison with an Ethereum or a Bitcoin, effectively, and what that means for technology as we grow. And Solana actually was bringing that to the table as well. I thought this interesting conversation around the development tools, right? So sometimes when you buy a car, you get a car, it's got all these weird tools. You're gonna have to go buy an entirely new toolkit just to work on the car. You can't always take the BMW to the regular mechanic, or actually you can't really technically at all, almost. You have to go to a specified mechanic because they're a bit more specialty. Whereas sometimes, especially in the developer world, what you might want is actually a more broad spectrum buffet of the tools that you can use in that building kit. That's kind of what I got from Solana. And then this excessively high transactions per second at 400,000, that's what it was doing. Hold on, how did we get there? Because that in itself is pretty impressive. We're talking about video games, all of this fun stuff taking place, and the reduced cost, massively scalable. So because we know that they're having stumbling moments, that's actually a good thing. If everything's going smoothly, to some degree, it means you built it to not do very much, right? As you advance technology, it becomes a bit more difficult. I don't actually even know how my Bluetooth mouse works, but I'm so glad that it does. I just flick it on and it says, hey, connection made, and then it works. It's such a wonderful thing. So I think one of the important aspects that I wanted to go over today was, as we're doing our research, some of the things that really jump out at us are through a number of factors, right? So keeping an eye on the projects that we're interested in. We always do that, although I normally ignore the news like that Solana went down for a bit. I ignore that kind of stuff. But I think there's a way to share it here, because over the last little while, we've been having conversations, we've been big fans of Solana, and look at this, it's actually starting to show up on order books. Oh wait, hold on. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. We'll show you that one in another episode. The point of this story is researching, going through the kind of day-to-day routine, keeping your mental cool, your emotional cool, and then understanding that these investment ideas take a long time. You don't have to go all into Polkadot tomorrow or something, right? You don't have to go all in Solana right now. Any good thesis should play out over time where you're constantly accumulating what you believe to be good investments. Now, this is not investment advice, but what I can tell you from all the past data that we have is that if you follow these strategies and you carry them through time, they're very easy to find success. Focus on what you're interested in. Maybe you like Avalanche more than you like Solana, and that's where you should spend your time. If you like Solana more than you like Avalanche, well, that is also then where you should spend your time. Here, I don't actually know. You can tell me all the cool different tech things that Avalanche and Solana does, but I'm not tech savvy enough to understand them, so I'm just going to have both of them. Anyways, this tea with the Arcane Bear. I thought I'd share a little bit about that. I think we're going to do more of these kind of riff and rant modes. This episode is brought to you by a moment in time with Solana. Have a great day. I don't actually think all those things that they said to the beginning of why it had a moment sounded like a great thing to me. Okay, so just keep that in mind. There's a bunch of positives and then a negative. So I think the positives in this conversation around what Solana is building still outweigh the negative. This is going to be interesting to see how these kind of base layer 1 protocols continue to advance and accelerate the scalability potential of the blockchain world that we are all interested in seeing thrive. Give us a thumbs up, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you in the next episode.